Japan is somewhere I've always wanted to study, but I also think presents a unique opportunity for me. If I'm able to study the language to a sufficient level, that might be able to get me an opportunity at a university that I might not have at home because of my academic record.
Yeah, Ronny, so please start and give me your story, your background.
My experience with wanting to study in Japan, mostly, out of very similar reasons to most people, is just that, I very much like the culture and I've, always been fascinated with a lot of aspects of it. But rather than just the environment that I like, I actually think my situation might be a little unique compared to others because I actually had a very poor academic history in the US. And in high school and in community college, I was working very long hours very often, and I didn't get a lot of work done. And I didn't really have too much of a drive for academics at the time. And having spent time, outside of high school and outside of community college, I'm 26 now. And I think Japan is somewhere I've always wanted to study, but I also think presents a unique opportunity for me because how most language schools offer a preparation for the EJU exam. If I'm able to study the language to a sufficient level that, a university would find acceptable, like around N2, and if I'm able to pass the EJU, that might be able to get me an opportunity at a university that I might not have at home because of my academic record. So I'm kind of, as much as it's a very large and maybe very bold undertaking, I'm kind of counting on what opportunities I'll be able to have with taking the EJU and with learning the language and kind of getting a fresh start from, the academic history I have here. And as well as that, there's things I have to look forward to there, employment wise, even after university, regardless of what I study, because of course it's very popular for expats to teach English over there. And I actually love working with people. I love working with kids, explaining things and things like that. And I like linguistics a lot. So here in America, or, pretty much anywhere in the world right now, finding employment without a degree is really difficult. So I'm just hoping to make a new fresh start over there, and I want to get started on it as soon as possible. But as the country is still closed and the entry ban is still going on, I'm just kind of uncertain as to whether I should try to just forget that for now and continue things here, which is not the most favorable option for me, or whether I should just wait it out. But the uncertainty and, the vagueness of it all is making it really difficult to decide what to do next.
So I think it's actually really interesting, as you pointed out, because if I understand well, you are in a situation where it's really hard to further your career in your country because of your educational background.
Exactly.
But actually going to a country like Japan, where as a foreigner, of course, you bring a lot of skills and things that Japan doesn't have. Actually, is in high demand. Like you mentioned, being a teacher, as a native English speaker, you bring something that Japan doesn't have. Because of that, together with being able, improving your Japanese language skills and passing the EJU, which is the entry to Japan university test that everyone can take, every foreigner can take. And it's up to you. It's up to your how good you will study Japanese, if you can pass it or not. If you pass that and you enter to university, you graduate, you basically can really have a new start, have a second opportunity in your life when you will still be in your 20s. We're not talking about 30 or 40, and this is very, very important for you. And if you cannot do this in Japan now, when will you be doing to do? Then it will be too late for you, because you will get 30, possibly 30, 32, 33, and then it will be too late for you. Why Japan in particular, though? Like you could do this. I believe you could go graduate in many countries in the world, teaching English. Many countries in the world will like to have you. Why Japan?
One of the things I really like about Japan is the consistency that everything has, from down to the infrastructure, just, how businesses operate and how public services operate. I love the structure of it all and how things are very organized. And I really like just that whole kind of, the bureaucracy might be a little bit too much there. I heard that, paperwork type stuff is a bit of a bureaucratic nightmare, but like outside of that, I just really like simplicity, efficiency, and things like that. And that's one of the things that's drawn me to their culture and, drawn me to them as a country. A lot of people, it's really popular now, especially for younger people, to like a lot of, aspects of Japanese culture. People like, the music and the food and the anime, and myself as well. I like all those things also. And on top of that, I just think day-to-day life there is preferable for me, and I think for a lot of people. Who I'm somebody that, you know, I'm very affected by my environment, and I'm somebody that, I like to have a very disciplined environment, and a very, orderly and structured environment. And I feel like that's a for somebody like me who's looking for opportunities and looking to build myself both in, my career and academically, having that kind of structured environment is something that's really healthy for a person in a sort of situation like I am, to, take the steps you need to get to where you want to be. And I think Japan is very unique in how they execute that and how they put all that together. So
yeah, and my personal answer to this, or comment, follow up, because I think everyone has his own view and will have his own experience when living and arriving in Japan. When you talk to 10 people, probably they will say 10 different things about their feelings and experience on Japan. And everyone is right, because, it's really depend on who you are when you live in a country, that the result of your, of your emotions and your feelings. I think what you said is absolutely true. They're very structured. They're sometimes very complicated, sometimes very simple. That's, I think, is the beauty of it. It's important for people to understand that this could be a plus and minus. When you move to a different culture, very different from American culture or European culture, like in my case, or even Southeast Asian cultures. Many cultures are so much different from Japan, because Japan is an island, has been developing by itself. It's very important to understand that there will be plus and minus all the time. Be open-minded and accept that sometimes things will feel very good. Sometimes things will feel very stressful because it's so different from us. And if you can accept that, I think you will have a great time when you come to Japan. I want to know also how your feelings have changed in the past months because of the current situation. How are your emotions now? Could you please tell me about it?
It's very vague and uncertain. And even when the country is, operating normally with, intaking foreigners and whatnot, it's stressful enough for somebody, because that's a very extreme life change. I mean, even for Southeast Asians and even for Europeans, but especially for somebody, on the other side of the planet who's, that's a big leap to make. It's a very, very important decision. And I think, to be honest, it's funny you asked that, because I started to question where, if I had just gone immediately without hesitation, and if there hadn't been any kind of restrictions in place, I don't think I would have thought about it as much as I start thinking about it now, and thinking about, like, should I do this, or is this the right decision, or will I be happy with this in, however many years, which is things that you'd have to ask yourself, of course. But when it's feels so far away, I kind of loom over those even more. And then on top of that, because of the lack of updates from the government and the lack of, official information concerning the situation, or any kind of dates or anything, even a vague idea of them, it almost feels like it's just not happening, because just weeks go by, and people I haven't seen in a while, or people I haven't spoke with in a while, will say, "Oh, weren't you going to Japan in July?" Or, "Are you're still going in October, right?" Yeah, I'm gonna get there eventually. And you think, and it's just like, I don't know exactly when it's going to happen. So it almost feels like it's not going to happen. Like, it, I'm sure it eventually will, of course, but it just feels so far away and so distant that it starts feeling less like tangible and less like real. And, like, on that note too, I think I've kind of not been as ready as I would be if I knew I was going on a certain date. So I've been kind of just stuck in my routine of the things I'm doing to keep myself busy and active and healthy, while I'm waiting for, whatever update we have, or waiting for whatever date we're told.
Are you doing something in particular, or do you want to share anything that you think could be helpful for the others to keep yourself positive, to keep yourself still in the place where, okay, whenever the border opens, I'm going to be ready?
I think if you're somebody that likes to socialize, utilizing whatever, resource or sort of social media you can to make friends in Japan, native speakers that might be looking to practice English, I think is an excellent way to stay motivated on it, because through that format, through trying to learn Japanese, through self-study and having Japanese friends that also want to learn English, I've met quite a few people online, and I've made friends with some of them. And I think rather than it just being some kind of strictly professional destination where you're going to do some kind of business work or some kind of academic stuff, having an actual friend or having a connection with somebody there is something that definitely, it makes it more real and it makes it more tangible, and it gives you something to look forward to, and shows you that eventually you may be able to study with that person face to face, or even if you don't, just the idea that you know there's somebody there, you're talking to a real like person there living, like another person like you who's studying just like you and working just like you, and it helps kind of bridge the gap a little bit, or close
Hmm.
the gap for that matter. So I think socializing is really good, and if you're not into that, I would say just to keep studying consistently, stay exercising, eating healthy and all that, and you want to be ready when you go. You don't want to be rusty and you felt like you weren't going to go for so long, so you stopped studying for a couple months, because I almost fell into that. And I
Hmm.
thought, well, if I had all this free time waiting to go and I'm not ready with the studying, doesn't look good. So I guess just stay on top of it like you're about to go tomorrow and try to socialize with people.
My last question for this interview would
Sure.
be, if you could talk to the Japanese government, what would you like to say to them, tell them about your situation or about the situation in general of international students?
I would like to tell them that, it's very important that a lot of people are getting vaccinated, and, a lot of countries, especially, here where I am in New York, a good majority of people are being vaccinated, and I can understand their apprehension at letting people in, especially as things are, it's sometimes looking like they're slowly starting to get worse. When you're looking for the best interest of your own country and your own people, it's understandable that you would be apprehensive. But with the vaccines coming out, and with whatever guidelines that could be made or regulations or any kind of rules, if anybody is so inclined to, give up their current situation and go and live and study in Japan, which is a huge change and a big lifestyle change for anyone, I think following those regulations and being very careful about what they're doing would be a million times easier than the whole process itself. So, as much as I'm sure a lot of people like myself want this too, I'm sure they'd be very happy to follow these regulations, and I'm sure they'd be, very happy to do what they need to do in order to keep the people of Japan safe, the natives, and keep themselves safe as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ronny, for
Mhm.
sharing your story with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate your time, and to everybody else out there, stay well, stay positive. I'm, in it with you. So
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you. Take care now.